Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Out of the Blue. And once again, we've got a special edition today as we're joined by Andrew Elias from Virtual School Experience. Hi, Andrew. Nice to see you.
Hi there, Mark. Hi, David.
Hi, Andrew. Nice to meet you.
And obviously, we're joined by David, as ever. Hi, David.
Hello, Mark.
So, Andrew, I usually get our guests to introduce themselves because my introduction would never do you justice. So if you don't mind, just give everybody a brief outline of who you are and what you're about.
And actually, just as we do that, Andrew, we're going to put a little picture up of you with your lovely uniform, or it was probably one of your older brother's uniforms, I think.
Yeah, that's the sort of blazer your mum tells you you're going to grow into. Definitely.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it was an investment purchase. I was quite a stocky young man. Yeah, that was my first day at Didcot Boys. So it's my secondary school that I went to. Just very, very proud mum. Obviously, she'd comb my hair and everything that day. So cut around the basin the night before as well on the haircut. So yes, you've got to reflect on these things and laugh at them. I guess
with fond memories, I'm sure.
The photograph's definitely dated by the Mini Metro, isn't it?
Yeah,
gives you an idea of the era.
Yeah, to the same degree, I would say that's the best thing about the photo.
Sorry, I interrupted then, Andrew. But I thought we should have the photo at that point.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, it's certainly it's got a lot of traction on LinkedIn. So it says something about my normal copy, whereby the picture of me with curtains and my Metro in the background is more interesting than what I say on a daily basis. So whatever. Maybe I should change my strategy.
Anyway, you were going to give us a little bit of an overview of who you are, what you're about. If you can, that'd be great.
Of course, for sure. Yeah. So whilst I'm really pleased to be involved in independent and international education predominantly, my background is more in the commercial side of education. So I've worked for a few market-leading companies over the last few years. I started with Oxford University Press, so I worked in their journals division in the corporate sales team there on journals across cardiology, oncology, so sort of medical journals. And then I've moved across to ISC Research, so they're the market leaders in international schools research, again, working with commercial companies looking to understand the international schools market. And right now, I'm at William Clarence Education Group, and I've got a dual remit as Partnerships Director for Virtual School Experience, our school software marketing tool, and also to build out our content platform, which is schoolmanagementplus.com, and on which we host magazines like International School Magazine, and for UK independent schools, we have Independent School Management Plus.
Wow, that's a lot.
Busy.
So, I think the first thing that we came across and certainly had a great deal of interest in was virtual school experience. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think that's something that our viewers would be really interested in.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a brand new piece of software, and in essence, it's a fully customizable school marketing software tool that allows a school to tell its own school story. Every school's got a different story to tell, but it helps the school to tell that personal digital story online. And as I say, you don't need a developer to use the product. You can take all of the content you've already got, and you can either host them on your own website, or you can send them out to individual admissions inquiries, or maybe as a follow-up for an open day, that sort of thing. So I guess it's sort of next generation brochure stuff, whereby we all view things online these days with tablets, phones. And so when we're looking at a school, it's like any other purchase or decision we make. We do lots of research online, and we expect a personal experience now. And that really is what VSE helps schools deliver.
Yeah, and I think it's really dynamic as well, Andrew. You obviously demonstrated it to me. And what I like about it is that it takes that virtual tour experience that we may have seen over the last couple of years, and really expands on that and provides, as you say, that more personal approach to that. I think some of the virtual tours have been quite static. You click and point and you try to navigate around, and it wasn't like that at all. It was really fluid and dynamic, and your hotspots that you have available, then deliver content either as more traditional brochure type content or videos. And I thought it was really powerful for a school to embrace that and deliver that content in a different way, really.
Thank you, David. No, that's great to hear the positive feedback. You're very kind. I think possibly that's the only misconception with the name. Actually, is when we speak to some schools, because we're a relatively new product, people sort of say, "Oh no, we've got a virtual tool, we've got a campus tool. We're fine, thank you very much." But actually, as you said, it's actually you could put a tour video or any other sort of piece of content within one of these, and actually, what VSE is it's that tool to be able to deliver that message to the audience. Really, it's not the tool itself. Really, it's how you deliver that, how you personalize that for your audience, and how you then sort of see how they engage with the content you send them. And I guess that's a barometer of how well a school understands its audience too, really. So you can vary that content. Really important that you communicate your school's individual message to your audience, and that probably varies with every different person that's thinking about sending their kid to your school, really. And that's what VSE is all about, helping a school to personalize their stories for different families that are thinking about attending their schools.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful, isn't it? We've chatted before, David, about how schools have adopted lessons from the commercial world, really. And one of those, one that we actually considered creating a workshop for, was helping schools recognize how to sell, basically. And sell's quite a dirty word in schools, but they're more and more recognizing the need to sell their school to prospective new parents. And one of the first lessons you ever learn in sales is making sure that you're matching the benefits of your offering to the person that you're talking about. And I think that's the real strength of VSE is that it does that for you. It really is going to be winning the hearts and minds of that individual person, because it's talking to them about what they want and what they need from the school, rather than everything you do, which is always a mistake, I think, when you're trying to sell something.
Yeah, absolutely. We've sort of got this hashtag, which is sort of your school, their experience, really. So it's I think it's really on a school or any business to sort of put yourself in the shoes of the customer, really, and let them see your business and how it's going to support them from their side, really. And obviously, we're thinking about Matt's specifically in maintained schools. It's still the same competition for places. You still want kids to come to your school, and it really the terminology is weird, because from a sales perspective, it's okay to talk about lead generation, lead conversion, that sort of thing. But obviously, when you talk about students, the language is a bit softer, really. But in essence, it's the same across any sort of business or school setting, really. Your website is a key lead generation piece, so that's got to be on point, and that's got to communicate your school's USPs and that story. And then obviously, it's thinking about how do we get those admissions through our website or through our comms. But then how do we convert that initial inquiry into a new student for our school? And that could be a MAT in the UK, that could be an international school in Asia, that could be a UK independent school. The fees might be different, or the incentives might be different, but it's that customer journey now is so important. And I think that's probably the parallel across the sectors, really. It's parents and consumers just expect that now. That's a thing. We've got to embrace it.
And I think it would be really interesting for Multi-Academy Trust to be able to draw on your experience in the independent international sector and learn, the processes, the sales processes that those schools that have done it for years, use that experience for a trust. And they are businesses in themselves, and they've got to generate the admissions, because that's what's funding their growth. And at the moment, there's a lot of energy being spent on growing trusts and merging. So having a platform like that across a trust, I think, would be really powerful in terms of generating a personalized admissions approach to all the schools within that trust. And it could, I'm presuming it could be run centrally from the trust, and that content generated centrally, so that actually they can focus on each school then from a central point of view, rather than the schools thinking that they have to expend resource themselves on putting all that content together. That could be done by the trust.
Yeah, absolutely, David. Actually, I was doing some homework before the call. I was watching Mark's presentation that he gave recently to the marketing, the MAP Mergers conference, and about the impact of marketing, the importance of marketing for trusts looking to grow. And I think some key points from that for me were about identifying your school's USP or your MAT's USPs, and then how would you communicate and control that message, and that sort of alignment across your schools really. So yeah, for sure, something like VSE would be able to help a school group, as you say, take content, either duplicate some of the content for each of their websites, whereby they've maybe got mission and value statements and stuff which they want all schools to communicate in the same way, but then to the same degree maybe to have a couple of pages or to utilize the platform differently for each school to be able to say actually what differentiates it from the other schools within the trust, because obviously you want standardization across the trust, but then you want a bit of personality too. And but of course I'm going to say you could use VSE to do that. So yes, that's definitely something there. I think again, watching what Mark was saying on that particular video, I think that differentiation piece is something that international schools do really well. And we've done some work with lots of marketing directors with the Friday Club, which we might come on to talk about in a second. But some real takeaways I've had from that, which certainly come back to the MAT and the maintained sector here, is thinking about the next piece really. So differentiation is really important, understanding that USP, but then thinking about, right, how do we communicate that USP, but also to who? Because lots of, and it's a business thing again, but certainly in international schools, it's about developing family personas, prospective parent personas, and accepting the fact that not every parent, not every student is right for your school, but for a number of reasons, not necessarily always money. It may be just not the right fit really, but there's no point doing a great marketing campaign or producing a great VSE or a great website, but then nobody's seeing it or not the right people seeing it. So I guess there's that step. And then again, watching Mark's slides, the next piece again, that competition for places, against other local schools, against a grammar school, against a local independent school that you'd like to take some kids away from for your MAT, that sort of thing, to compete against different schools in your region. Possibly the next bit actually is the most important bit, is how do you take people from that inquiry stage or that initial interest to then actually get them to sign up to come to your school. And I think probably maybe that's the biggest lesson from Indian international schools for MATs. There is now so much focus on that customer journey, and that lots of schools now have personalized learning for students at their schools. But now international schools and indie schools are looking at personalized admissions before that, because they think, well, when they get there, it's a personal service. We've got a premium product, premium service. So now they're really looking at best practice before that, really. And as I say, most parents will be buying things online. They'll be used to really good checkout experiences with things like John Lewis, whoever else they shop on, get your weekly shop, you do everything else. So you expect a school website probably or an admissions process to go the same way, really. And that's, I definitely think those best practice, or that aspiration towards best practice is something MATs could take from Indian international schools.
Yeah, definitely. I think MATs could definitely benefit from that, and actually looking and understanding their admissions process. I think certainly the bigger MATs are doing that, but the smaller ones still, can learn a lot about that admissions process and what's involved. So you mentioned the Friday Club, and actually that launched 2 or 3 weeks ago now, I think it was.
That's a bit longer. I think we've got issue 5 coming up. Well,
is it really that already? Wow. Okay.
Issue 4 last week. We had Jason Hopner from Dulwich, Singapore was our key guest last week. But yeah, I'm more than happy to tell you a bit about the Friday Club and
just tell us about it. You brought it up, and obviously I've been following them. I hadn't kept up to date which number we're on, but found it really useful, really interesting information on there. Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. Well, as a business, as I say, I'm not an educator. Steve, the owner of our business, is not an educator. So we're really privileged to be part of the education sector, and it's our sort of mission as a company to try to give more back to education than we take out of the sector. We're really keen to do whatever we can to showcase and support educators. We try to do that through School Management Plus by sharing resources, expertise, articles, hosting free events through that platform. But really sort of looking and thinking about VSE and about the whole issue and area of school marketing admissions, predominantly for Indian international schools, but it's probably applicable for any sort of school, really. there doesn't seem to be sort of a go-to place for support and networking and just a bit of an insight as to what schools around the world are thinking about doing with regards to marketing admissions. There's lots of educator content out there, lots of leadership content, but not necessarily a specific home for school marketing and admissions teams. So really we came up with a relatively random name, the Friday Club. We didn't really think an education name would be particularly interesting, so we thought we'd go up with something slightly different. And the idea is, it's just a weekly newsletter for anybody involved in schools marketing and admissions around the world. No sort of school type prejudice, or if you're part of a business or whatever else, and you're just interested in that part of the school running process. And right now it's a weekly newsletter. We have a 20-minute interview each week, which is called Break Time With. Sophie Clark, my colleague, hosts that, and she does a fantastic job. We've had some great guests on from independent schools. We had Sophie Walker the other week from Felsted. She was talking about how Felsted have embraced TikTok to both engage with the new generation of parents, but also to control their brand and their message on the platform, because they were finding a lot of their students were there posting possibly not the most appropriate content, or content they weren't particularly happy with from a school level. And so that's been really interesting. They've got some really great traction there. So that was very interesting. And then last week we had Jason, as I say, from Dulwich, Singapore, and really talking about very much a best practice approach to admissions, and from a data perspective too. So very much an immersive thing, personas, so utilizing data. Also, probably the other important thing, the lesson from last week would be, and again applicable to Matt's, around parent advocacy. They really leverage parent advocacy, and they're making a big play on that element of their recruitment piece for new students. But that's also to create that community of parents feeding back and contributing. It's really helping them with retention too. So anyway, so
absolutely it does, and I think that's something we've not really spoken that much about, Mark, actually on our show yet, and that's definitely something we should do. So I'll make a note of that, and we will do an episode of that one.
It's one of those classic things, and it's a bit like any sort of, again, sales activities. It's far easier to keep a client or keep a student to find a new student, really. So certainly with international schools where there's quite a lot of flux, expats in and out of the country every 2 or 3 years, it's quite a high turnover of students. So really interesting what Dulwich are doing around parent advocacy, and a lot of that obviously frankly is free, so if you've got happy parents, they're happy parents. It's then just encouraging them to share that. So the Break Time With is our set piece sort of thing every week. That's the most important bit of what we do. And then I'm quite nosy, really. So I sort of look to share things that I've seen about marketing admissions that week. We commission content. We ask marketing admissions managers, directors to share things that's going on at their schools. We highlight a school social account of the week, so Instagram account, TikTok, YouTube channels, that sort of thing, to share some inspiration, or maybe to spark some new ideas for different schools that might read the newsletter. And it's interesting to think about where it might go. Actually, we're getting some great traction. I think we've signed up about 300 directors of marketing admissions so far. So it's really nice that the right audience that we're looking for are engaged in it. And I think we're starting to concoct some ideas around maybe some social events, or some maybe more live events towards the end of the year, as conferences start back up and that sort of thing. So it's been a really worthwhile exercise, and we get some great feedback about it. So it's really nice.
Yeah, it's really good. There's some really good content on the newsletters, and the branding. In fact, it was the branding that I commented on. I think when it first came out, there was the new brand, and I commented on it. Really good job with that so far. I think it's excellent. That's the Friday Club.
The Friday Club, I'm sure David will put a link in the email when you guys get it. That's all the branding. It's you might have noticed, but I found Canva recently. Spent too much time recently on there, but that's a fantastic bit of kit.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that people can find the Friday Club with some links at the end of the show. We'll bring them up on screen, along with obviously your contact details.
Thank you,
Andrew. I think we've touched upon that. It's a fact you work a lot with the Indian international market. We've touched upon those sorts of crossovers with multi-academy trusts and maintained schools. Are there any other sort of major crossovers or major lessons that Mats can learn from the independent and international schools, do you think?
Again, just thinking about your slide deck and the work we do. I think the other element about marketing and a big issue that those two sectors face is the staff recruitment element too. So it's your pupil recruitment and comms with current and future parents is really important, but it's how do you engage and get your brand out there in front of teachers too, and in front of potential new prospects. And certainly with international schools, there's a very high turnover of teachers again. So for sure, I think and thinking about how schools could use VSE, but also your services and the comments you made on the slide deck, which again I'm sure you'll share after this, about the way schools need to think about that audience too. So I think there is a real high emphasis and certainly a big prioritization of a school's brand to both audiences. So sort of B2C, I guess, or B to parents. So sort of through channels like Facebook, that sort of thing, which maybe is very different content to how they're going to communicate with prospective teachers and future leaders of their school too. So I think sort of that a real consistent joined up approach. Really, I don't think necessarily budget is too much to get hung up on here. I think if you have a few content pillars and consistency across those content pillars, I think then it's a case of working out how best to disseminate them and work through that. But no, I think really the lesson for Matt from the independent and the international sector would be just that striving towards best practice, really, really drilling down on that USP of your school. Every school is unique, and that's sort of why VSE works, because every school's got something unique to say about itself. It's just not getting too bogged down in how sort of polished it looks sometimes, because every school website looks pretty good these days, doesn't it? It's actually really focusing on the message, and then actually just thinking about how you then look after that customer, in inverted commas, through to, even if they decide not to go to your school, have they had a really good experience, and would they think about the future, maybe going, sending their kids to the school, or if something changes. So I think, I just think that striving towards best practice in all areas of your marketing admissions, it can only be a good thing for any sort of school.
Yeah, and doing it consistently as well. It's I think many are fall into the trap of trying it for a little bit and then giving up because they're not seeing any results, and then they might try again, a little bit later as a turnover of staff or something, and then it doesn't really deliver anything that way. It's got to be done consistently, even when you feel like nobody's listening and looking. You've just got to keep putting that message consistently out there, and it does make a difference.
It sounds like you're talking from experience there, David.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. But it goes back to that online thing, doesn't it? That's we're always sort of thinking about purchases or decisions online, and so think about LinkedIn or something like that. We both had too much, David. If you look at somebody's profile, you probably, it's not just the first post you look at. You probably scroll down a few and see, and you look for the story of content. And you say, I think having that consistency, understanding what makes your school unique, and then telling that story in a really personal way, predominantly online these days, is so important.
Yeah, I love that personal approach. I think that's really important, and is much more accessible now. With the likes of your platform, it's something that we should be doing more of, and schools should be embracing, really, because they can do it. They can personalize their admissions. So yeah, interesting, very interesting products there, and I'm not surprised you're keeping busy with all that going on.
We're very busy, as I say. Thank you very much for the opportunity for speaking. Of course, if anybody would like to talk, I'd more than happily have a free demonstration of the product if people are interested.
Brilliant. Andrew, thank you so much for your time. We could talk to you all day, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Feels like we have been talking all day, Matt.
Yeah, well, it does. We won't mention that. The presentation that you mentioned was a talk I gave at the Matt Growth Emerger Conference, and anybody that's interested can watch the full presentation. It was recorded and presented about 6 or 7 episodes ago from Out of the Blue. So somewhere on this page, you will find that.
I will put a link up on that.
And David will put a link up as well. Andrew, thanks so much for your time. We'll make sure all of your contact details are on screen at the end of the show, and anybody that wants to get in contact will be able to do so. And also a link to the Friday Club, which we'll all go and take a look at. Is it only Fridays you're allowed to look at it?
Well, sometimes I mix it up and send out a midweek mailer as well. So
Just to confuse us.
It's totally free though. So yeah, please do sign up and have a look.
Brilliant. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for your time. We'll see you again.
Thanks very much, Andrew. Good to see you.
Nice to talk to you both. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching Out of the Blue, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe and leave a comment below, and please ring the bell for notifications. I hope I will see you again soon. Bye!